The strongest of today's era versus the strongest in history, Gojo vs Sukuna is one of the best fights in modern shonen, and by the end of this video you will be enlightened. At first I didn't enjoy this fight at all, but once the overall narrative began to click with the release of chapter 233 and the recontextualization granted via the conclusion, this fight is fucking amazing. This fight is just a lot of fun. We get to see the absolute peaks of Jujutsu, and the power system is pushed to its limits with multiple domain clashes, really cool technique interactions, and the most creative usage of said techniques in the series. The switch of cat and mouse between Gojo and Sukuna really enhances the tension. With the first 8 chapters of the fight, Sukuna has the upper hand while Gojo has to stall and quickly find a way to outmaneuver Sukuna, and his dynamic switches with the second half of the fight is Sukuna being on the defensive while Gojo is on a time limit to defeat Sukuna before the adaptation is complete. Both parties have to gamble throughout the fight, and it creates a lot of fun matches between the two, so on reread, this narrative that Gojo dominates for 90% of the fight makes no sense. This fight also contains some of the best choreography in the series. Gege does a great job of having both characters interact with the environment to create cool action sequences that will only further be elevated once animated. Hell, I want to animate some of these moments myself. Hopefully, maybe in the back I can get something cooking up like a manga animation to release on December 24th, the day this fight does happen in the series. I think that'd be really cool, but hey, you know, I got a busy schedule. See what happens. Throughout the fight, we get commentary from the Peanut Gallery, and at times it can feel like guys just like stop talking, like they ramble on for a bit, but you know, on the reread I kind of like the dialogue because every time we get to hear from them, it kind of foreshadows the next stage of the fight and also reminds the reader of the current situation between both parties at each stage in the fight, so I'm kind of liking it now. It isn't that bad. Now, the most important aspect of the fight is obviously the overarching narrative, and it's beautiful. From birth, Gojo has always been seen as a symbol for the peak of today's era. The loneliness that comes with unrivaled strength, the one who will teach you about love is, and that's the theme of this fight, the theme of love, represented through Jujutsu, is genius. In the second half, Gojo is constantly throwing his love at Sukuna, utilizing all his experiences and training to reach the only person in the series that would understand his loneliness, and Sukuna is on the defense, receiving Gojo's purest representation of himself as the two adapt, try to understand each other's thinking to outsmart the other, and it's really cool way to kind of incorporate just two insanely strong people just duking it out, but also just kind of like understanding each other in just this weird twisted way. Throughout the fight, Sukuna calls Gojo nameless and even mocks his title, the strongest. At first, this can be seen as just typical banter between two opponents, but this ties into Gojo's arc throughout the series. When you think of Satoru Gojo, your primary thought is not about the person itself, but the title, the strongest. Gojo is seen as a pillar that holds Jujutsu society together, the most important piece on the board between the fight against curses, and this is why, no matter what, Gojo always felt detached from others. Nanami's comment in chapter 236 has been disgustingly misinterpreted by people. Gojo obviously cares about his students and wants to see them surpass him. He has full faith in them and doesn't want to live in a system that solely relies on him, so this whole why isn't Gojo losing his mind when his students have to fight Sukuna after this? This is the same guy that had full faith in everyone in Shibuya even after, you know, the way things turned out. His faith remains consistent. They've got it from here. However, at the same time, there's also that side of him that feels isolated, and in his selfishness is when he feels most alive. We see this multiple times throughout the series. In Hidden Inventory and the Shibuya arc, Gojo has always been a contradictory character that's morally gray. It's as if he's trying to get these people to be as strong as him because he doesn't want to feel that loneliness. And yeah, it's a good deed, but it's also rooted in selfishness. So it's kind of poetic that in his last moments he gets to live true to himself and feel that satisfaction he's always longed for. And this all culminates when Sukuna acknowledges Gojo as beyond just a title. He is Gojo Satoru, the one he will never forget as long as he lives. Sukuna's finally taught love through the loneliness of being the strongest. So yeah, I think the overall narrative and growth both characters take throughout this fight is amazing, but I know some have already decided this fight is ass and aren't really open to hearing new perspectives. However, through the video, I hope you kind of got to think about the fight a bit more, regardless of whether your opinion changed or not. I had originally planned for this video to be a lot longer, but I kind of realized, you know, short, concise, straight to the point. not really rambling, just so that I can hit 10 minutes is kind of the way to go. Plus I'm planning on dropping a video tomorrow, so you know, if I do that, that's like 4 videos this week, and I also have university classes. So yeah, your boy's been grinding. A lot to do, especially since I'm trying to improve the editing in the videos. If you notice, the editing's getting better. But yeah, if you like anime content that keeps it real, consider subscribing so when I hit 10K you can brag about being a day one. I gotta get back in the kitchen to cook. Peace.